All right. So today we're going to be doing a theory breakdown for our song, All Right. A lot of you have been asking me to do this for a while, so I'm going to. The reason I've kind of put it off is because it's a little tricky. It takes a little bit of work, but I'm going to do my best Adam Neely impersonation today. So here we go. We're just going to dive into it. The first thing that we need to talk about when talking about All Right is chromaticism and a little bit of modality and modulation between the key. So let's dig into it. The key of All Right is A major. We stay in that sometimes, but it has been known to move around a little bit. So, the very beginning of the intro, we move around in A major 7, add 9, with a little bit of sharp 11s and 13s mixing in every once in a while. The intro itself, moving around between the first lyrics before verse 1 truly kicks in, we move between A major, F sharp minor, F major, and D major 7. So the chromatic movement of this is what makes it work. Now normally, you might hear mostly pentatonic melody with some chromatic movement between, let's say, the 5 and the 6, like we do. The difference here is instead of just doing that in the melody, I like to realize it through the chords. So what you're hearing when we move from F sharp minor to F major, it's a non-diatonic chord. It's a chord that exists out of notes that do not naturally exist in the key that the song is in. Now you might normally hear chromaticism like this in the melody, simply as blue notes moving between the diatonic notes. What we've done here is realizing them through the chords in a full F major, moving between the F sharp to the D. Blue chords based off blue notes. I like the way they sound. And it's just a matter of moving chromatically down. G sharp in our A major 7, down to our F sharp as the root, down to our F as the root, and then finally down to E, which exists as the 9 or D major. And then that resolves to the 5 of A major. The song greatly uses 7s and 9s as pivot points and common tones between our different chords and the extensions. So now let's dig into the actual verse. The verse is where it gets a little bit tricky. The entire point of All Right as a song is to be as unstable as the content of the theme is. It's all about an unstable relationship and the difficulties of that, and so my goal here was to make this song as uncomfortable and unstable and uncertain as possible. So we start out with an A major 13. Let's actually break down how we got to the chords. Everything is based off of open fifth chords. So if we start on the note A and move up in fifths, we have A, E, B, F sharp, C sharp, and G sharp. Now that cluster of open fifths gives us more or less an A major 13, excluding the 11. The 11 being more of a Lydian sound, that sharp 11 doesn't happen at this point. It does a little bit later on in a different chord. But we take all of this and we have our root, third, and fifth, along with our 7, 9, and 13, skipping over that sharp 11. So instead of playing this all sprawled out, what we do is we cluster it. We move it into a closed position chord. And so in my right hand, you can see I'm playing the root, the 9, and the fifth, with the third there as well. And in the melody that kind of sprinkles over the top of it, you'll hear that 13 as well as that major 7. So all of this is kind of meshed in with a block chord as well as sprinkled over in the kind of subtexture of the song. Now moving on from there is where it starts to get difficult. After we do this, everything shifts. This is where we get non-diatonic, moving to the B flat major 13 minus sharp 11, whatever. So moving up to that, the point of this modal movement is to begin the instability. So from there we modulate to our B flat major 7, and after that we want to keep a chromatic movement going on the right hand. So what we did here was, you notice my right hand is playing a D and an F when we're on that B flat. So from there, all I want to do is move my D down to C sharp and maintain that F, thus giving me an F sharp major 7. From there we keep slight chromatic movements. C sharp stays the same and remains our common tone, while F moves down to E. We move to D sharp major. That right hand gives us a major 7 with a 9, a D major 9 chord. After that, that's where we keep stable. The C sharp maintains, adding a B while we move to A major, giving us an A major 9, with a little bit of 7s and stuff sprinkled in over the top. So this is all about chromatic movement, keeping chromatic movement with small shifts while the bass moves around, giving us all these different textures with little work. That's kind of how this song moves around the way it does without feeling jumpy. Small, simple movements with the root controlling what the extensions are. So moving on to the chorus. Getting into the chorus is simple. It's something I like to do. We walk down chromatically. A, G sharp, G, F sharp. And then we're there. So I return back to this F sharp dominant. This F sharp dominant doesn't resolve because dominant chords naturally want to go somewhere else. So if we're on an F sharp, that's the fifth of B, which is our next chord. But we don't want to feel like we've already gotten home yet. We don't want that to feel like the one. So what we do is we keep that E going, that dominant 7 of F sharp, which turns into our suspended 4 of B. But once I resolve that 4 to the 3, it might start feeling a little bit too final, like we've actually resolved to B as our 1 chord. And so we keep going past the 3 and down to that C sharp, acting as our 9. Now this is how we pivot from 9s to 7s over and over again in the song. We ride that 9 on the C sharp until we change our root to D, and suddenly we're in the chorus. Now this 9 has turned into a 7, and from there we're diatonic. We go from a D major 7 down to our relative minor of B minor, and then just before we get comfortable, we're going to go back to that F sharp dominant 7. This just keeps things uneasy, keeps things moving. And then we can go straight back to the D, back to our B minor, and here's where we change it up to start getting a little more comfortable but keep things moving a little unpredictably. We are existing now in the key of A major, but we go from D major to B minor, and now down to the relative minor of A, F sharp minor. Now, before we let it get too comfortable again, we're going to move up to a G, a Lydian G, because the melody is existing on that C sharp still. So what this effectively does is we have a GBD with a C sharp in the melody, giving us that cool super major Lydian sound. But that also puts us somewhat in the key of D major. So we're in between A and D right now, given that we use that G. And now we go back to the D major 7, rise up to the E7, which is a natural progression. We're doing a 4-5-1 here, from D to E to A. And that final E7, creating that dominant tension, is what lets us go back to A, fully resolving as a 1 chord. And of course, we have the G sharp as the 3rd and the E, resolving as the 7 and the 1. 3s and 7s and 9s. We pivot all over these to move from chord to chord. Now, a cool thing that I just want to talk about. The melody in this song is the reason why I like this song so much, because it effectively uses every single note in the chromatic scale to match each chord. If we notice here, in the first melody, we use A, B, C sharp, E, F sharp, back to A. After modulating to B flat, we go from F, D, B flat, A, G, and then going to the F sharp, we have F, G, F, E, E flat, or D sharp, however you want to see it, C sharp, D, B, C sharp. Every single note in our entire scale is used this way. I just think that's really cool. Do with that what you will. So that's our video for the Alright Music Theory breakdown. I hope that was helpful and explained some of the questions that you guys had. If there's anything I didn't cover that you want to know about, feel free to comment below. I'll be going through here over the next few days, talking with you guys, answering any questions you have, because I like talking music theory a lot. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our YouTube channel. It helps us out. Also, thank you to all of our Patreon donators for making content like this possible and all the equipment that we use. If you want to help support the band in other ways, feel free to click on the Patreon link below and support us. You'll get some access to some cool sheet music, videos, downloads of songs, little things that we drop here and there. I'll see you guys next time.